Hello there, I just wanted to pick up on some stuff that I haven't been able to do for a while. Hey, I don't know why, it's not like we've been locked in our houses for ages. What I'm talking about is the Ghost. I got the Ghost system, very kindly donated by a friend, and I tested it out on a sort of range test. I got some micro fail safes and then it wouldn't connect back. But that was in October, and since then we've had a whole bunch of firmware upgrades. And I wanted to see how it did now. So there were two things I wanted to do, which came back from things I wanted to know about and things a couple of people asked about in the comments. First off, there's now a Mac version of the updater for this. I need to upgrade the firmware. Sounds like a good situation. Just check how the Mac version works, make sure I can update this, make sure it all works. And then someone asked about, could you connect a Ghost directly to a non-IRC VTX? If you don't know, the Ghost has a dedicated T. I don't know if it's T for telemetry or T for Tramp. And it should be able to talk directly the Tramp protocol to a VTX that talks that protocol. And I think it can. I think the question's been answered because that was months ago. But I thought, oh, that sounds like a fun thing just to test out and see if I can make this control the VTX. So let's check all that out now. Okay, so this is the Mac version of the Ghost updater. And I'm going to take betas off, and it's still the same, much later version than mine. That seems to be the one I've got, so let's try updating it. Compatible product, eligible for upload, reboot and retry. Doesn't seem to be in bootloader mode. Try again. Oh, that's better. Maybe it just wasn't in bootloader mode before. So we got the main thing, we got the RX firmware. Rebind all receivers to update their firmware. And this guy is now saying that 1021, so that's good. All done. It seems like this this message about eligible for product not found is just a transient message, it would seem. Okay, so what I have here is my receiver, which I haven't updated yet, and what I should be able to do is put this in bind mode without having to rebind this, and it should just sort of work. So let's see if it will actually update the firmware here. Bind. Start binding in progress. And then here, I'm going to plug in the battery. Okay, battery's plugged in. Bind in progress. So we've got some lights on. Oh, what's it doing now? Yep, so we've got a request to do the update, so we're going to go that way. And that is going mental with the flashing. So that's pretty easy. Very reminiscent of Crossfire. So all very good. And a very distinct message that's definitely updating right now. And verifying. Still flashing like a crazy thing. Success. So there we go. Status TX1021, RX1021. So the only thing I noticed it did when it did the auto bind is it didn't bind it in the PWM mode, so I wasn't able to use this at first, but that's just a case of asking it to rebind it and replugging it. So that's all okay. Right, let's do something else with this. Okay, so let's talk testing out the VTX control. So what I've done here, I've got my Ghost, and if we look here, this little bit here is labelled T, and that's the telemetry wire, or I suppose Tramp wire, and that is going to the, well, it's labelled RX on this. This is a Zeus VTX from HLRC. Reviewed it a while ago, and it's quite handy because although if it was on a flight control state you wouldn't see it, here you've got all the little LEDs that will tell us what channel and band and power on, which is a good way to double check it. And from that I've got a little camera. This is it's a Runcam Nano 2, which I will point at the little Master Chief there so we can see stuff. We've got a little screen to see what's happening. Now this is wired in kind of, you almost need to ignore this bit, because what I've got an ESC here just to provide 5 volts to run the receiver, and I've got a voltage coming directly off the battery, and that's going to run the VTX, and the VTX powers the camera with 5 volts. So that would normally probably be from a flight controller. This I'm just doing as a standalone system. I've also got the radio here with the Ghost module, so we can see how that all works. So let's give it a try. I've sort of zoomed out here because I'm trying to show as much of the bits I've got as possible, although you don't really need to think about this bit of wiring here. It's got a 3S battery to run it all. So if we turn on the Ghost first, and we've got it should be set to channel 1 race band. So let's power this dude on, and it's possibly a bit hard to see, but that is on R1 currently. And then let's power this guy on. Oops, so there is Master Chief there. You've got some LEDs there that indeed do say that's on R1. So let's do a change here. So it says click to edit. Let's change that to, let's say, R4. So if we go to R4 there, I'm not going to change the power because this would overheat. It's bad enough on 25. And let's send that. And we get a nice hissing noise from there. Can you see that probably not, that the LEDs moved over to number 4. So let's press the channel button that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So there we are, back on R4, which is cool. And yeah, so that's one thing you can do. And one thing I like about that is, aside from the fact you can change this, you don't need VTX from Immersion RC. You can use some other one that just talks Tramp, and that's fine. What I also discovered, that if you update to OpenTX 2.3.11, then you get a little app on the tool. So if we go to Ghost menu like this, and you'll notice that instantly we do that, this then says Remote Menu. You've got exactly the same stuff. This is like having the back of the Ghost but on here, so you don't have to sort of turn around all the time. So we could go to VTX, and we could say I want to run on, let's change the bands, let's change to IRC, so that's band F on channel 1, and just for fun let's put the power up to 100 milliwatts. I'll change it back pretty quickly though. And that's currently okay, so let's change that now, and we should see that we've indeed got a change on the bands and everything. So let's change our bands. Band R, band A, B, what's that, E, that's F, and then we need to go to 7, 8, F1. There's Master Chief again. So yeah, I'm just going to change the power back down before I do anything else. Because it's already going to get hot. And as soon as we exit out of that, because at the moment it's still saying you're in the menu, so if we come out of that, then it will go back to this. But that's pretty useful, having that sort of information in a little app there. And what you can also do is get some of this information as telemetry, and you can do things with that in OpenTX. Kind of like what I mentioned with logical switches and stuff, set yourself alerts, that sort of thing. Well, happy days, everything works. The Tramp is updated. Well, I haven't tested on the range and stuff, but I'm presuming it works. And we've got that handy little app or tool in the front end of OpenTX where we can control it all, so we don't have to keep turning around and twiddling with the back of it. All quite nice. And thank you IRC for actually doing a Mac version of the update. It's a right pain to have to go into VM and run a Windows instance every time I have to do something. Now, as far as the config of this goes, I think it's not your typical situation. I just did it because, well, I could really. I thought it was sort of taking any complexity out of it and down to the bare essentials, which is a VTX, a camera, and the Ghost, and that worked absolutely fine. I think the only reason you might have this if you are like an old school flyer and saying, I don't need a flight controller, I'm just going to fly my fixed wing plane how I want to, but I might want to change channel without digging it out, then you might want something like this. For everybody else, I think 99.9% will have a flight controller, whether it's Betaflight or EmuFlight or iNav or anything else, they'd probably have a flight controller. But why you might not want to control your VTX with your flight controller instead of using it direct on a Tramp, because I would always find I'd go to the OSD and I'd change my channel that way. But lots of people do like doing things through the radio, including all the sort of Betaflight settings through the Lewis scripts there. And of course, if you are connecting your VTX directly to a flight controller, you are using a UART. And if you're putting lots of stuff on there like GPSs and other stuff, you might have filled all your UARTs up. So the fact you can control your Tramp-based VTX directly with your Ghost is an advantage. So it's an option to do stuff, basically. Anyway, next time I use this, hopefully I'll be flying it in something. I'll look for the opportunity to put it in something flied around, because we can finally go to a public place on our own and fly stuff and be within the law of the slightly relaxed lockdown stuff. I've got a bunch of stuff to catch up with, but I hope to come back and fly this and see what sort of results we get. Anyway, that'll be coming up later, hopefully, eventually. Until that time, hope that was helpful. I'll catch you next one. Bye for now. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.